So the welcome to the semi-final of Umeko Cup 2014. On the other hand, we have WAD A, and on the opposition we have KDS B. So now I'd like to call on the Prime Minister to deliver a constructive speech within 7 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So, under the name of humanitarian wars, or under the name of we must protect the people who are oppressed, who are suffering, we, especially countries such as developed countries such as the United States, do military interventions, do engage in countries such as Iraq or such as Afghanistan. However, while they're saying that we should actually promote for a better society without oppression, without suffering, these countries utterly fail. At the same time, we believe that this should not be taken because it actually does not save the people itself in the long term, and because organic change is the key for a better, truly better society. And thirdly, because in the first place, we should not actually have any sort of military intervention if there is no absolute necessary, such as self-defense, in the first place. Therefore, we believe that all liberal democratic countries should not do this engagement, military engagement, towards oppressive regimes, and rather, we should do economic sanctions. So, as a Prime Minister, I'm going to talk about basically 3 things. First of all, I want to talk about, why we even do these kind of interventions, military interventions, or economic interventions such as sanctions in the first place. And secondly, I'm going to talk about why organic change is so crucially necessary. And third, I'm going to talk about how economic sanctions is actually justifiable and actually saves the people. So moving on to the first, why we actually do why we actually do interventions in the first place. So we believe that we actually do this kind of interventions because of 2 reasons. First of all, for the protection of the oppressed, because as the countries have power, as the countries already have a lot of money, we have this sense of duty that when we see people or certain racial minorities that are being so oppressed, that are being so discriminated, we think that, oh, these poor people, and we as the people who are not suffering, we have a sense of duty that we have an moral obligation to actually try to help these people, right? And the second reason why we do this is because these kind of harms of these oppressive regimes actually harm our nation itself. These are examples, such as the 9/11 incident, where without these kind of military interventions, these kind of terrorist organizations that these military interventions will not stop, or in cases of Somalia, where the United Nations thought that Somalia was actually doing various harm towards the neighboring countries, as well as try to hijacking other transport ships as well. And so moving on to the second reason. However, we still believe that we should not actually try to do military intervention. At the same time, we must actually do this organized change. First reasons why is because in the first place, as a government, as a nation state, inside global democratic countries, and inside the international community, we have no right to intervene in other nations' policies, right? That's precisely why we don't actually say or threaten other nations to actually change their policies. We don't actually do any kind of policies that actually try to send spies, or actually this personalized spies which try to change the policies of the certain nation is discriminated, and should be said that we should not try to intervene in other nations' policy, because without this kind of with these kind of nations intervening in each other's countries, it's much likely that there will be conflict, and because these countries will hate each other more, and hence we believe that in the first place, in the international community, every nation state have no right to intervene in nation policies. And secondly, we believe that these kind of governments have no right to actually say that these kind of policies these kind of governments or actions are evil and must be intervened by our community, right? Because even though these kind of oppressive regimes are maybe doing atrocities, however, these governments are still the governments of these kind of nation states, and hence there is no right for our as developed countries to say, oh, you are doing something wrong, hence I'm going to defeat you, right? That's precisely why interventions such as interventions in Somalia, where they thought that the leader of the criminal organization the Somalia people was oppressed, by actually intervening it, we actually knew that the people didn't want Western interventions, right? So we have to, yes?
If you say that government is a just still government, why military and economic sanction is uniquely good?
Here, here.
Yeah. I want to think of two reasons. First of all, because of military engagements does not simply work, and thirdly, because sanctions is fully justifiable. So firstly, why military engagements does not work? I have two reasons about this. First of all, because of the collateral damage that happens. Because when we do actually do these kind of military aggressions, these kind of, while we are supposedly trying to help bring the sufferer out of these people who are oppressed, we actually inflict more harm towards people who are involved in the conflict, right? That's precisely why when the United States actually did a military intervention towards Iraq or towards Afghanistan, people who did receive collateral damage, people who actually suffered because of the United States interventions, actually became terrorists or actually became people who are who have oppressive ideas against the United States, because these people did suffer because of these military interventions. Second reason why is because these people, because we need a country, because military intervention does not actually make a nation state where these people, does not actually automatically create a society or a country where the leader is so good that does not do oppressive actions. Because these, for example, it was especially necessary for organic change to happen because, for example, in Romania, people actually stood up against the bad government, and this is actually good because first, it actually have time to create a good leader who can actually lead the country. And second, defeating the previously oppressive governments, people can understand, oh, that government was bad, hence we need to reflect on these ideas and make a better policy. Hence, organic change is important. And what sanctions is actually good? Because first of all, these kind of oppressive agreements actually do need financial activities in order to buy weapons, in order to run their countries, right? However, by actually doing economic sanctions, these oppressive regimes will suffer because they will have no more financial support or will not be able to do any tradings. Hence, we believe that these oppressive regimes will suffer. And why is oppressive regimes suffer is obviously because with these regimes suffering, these people will have to choose whether to keep on oppressing their people or to actually choose to stop, to accept the sanction message and actually become a more diplomatic country or to stop the oppression in exchange for stopping the sanctions. Hence, we believe that forcibly military actions that actually does more harm than good, and at the same time, economic sanctions will actually provide to make these people, oppressive units, to choose not to become continue oppressive. It's actually the better way. Thank you.
Next class on I'd like to pose a reader position.
Now the other countries do the economic sanction to the oppressive regimes and continuously, but this solution never achieved the goal to incentivize to change to the dictator to change and make situation better and better. So we believe this is not solution to make situation better and better, and also engagement is much more helpful to make situation better. And I will show you so why in this debate. And so therefore we are happy to oppose this motion. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about two things. So first, So why sanction itself damage to the citizens' normal life, and also this is a not best solution. And secondly, I will show you. So why the engagement is better the way to incentivize to change the dictator's mindset and to help to the citizens. And this is the best way to tackle the such problem. Okay, so before that, two rebuttals to the previous speaker. So first, he said this is obligation, so we have to do so. Yes, so exactly, but they never explain so why this is uniquely important, and they just say military intervention is so bad, so therefore we are going to do economic sanction. But okay, in this debate, we are not happy. We are not happy to do military intervention. We just do other engagement, right? So okay, and secondly, they said dictator sooner change their mind and do the better thing, and the situation will be better. However, Mr. Speaker, there's not so clear mechanism, and also we are not unsure what's happened, and also we doubt the dictator itself does not change, and so their environment does not change if we do so. So therefore, we cannot incentivize to change the dictator to make situation better, and and also they have still power, and so they still enjoy their life. However, compared to such a dictator, the normal citizens sacrifice their life. So this is so problematic. So therefore, sanction itself is so harmful to compare to the engagement, right? Okay, so let me move my point. So why sanction itself damage to citizens' normal life and not best solution. So if we do economic sanction to the oppressive regime, there's two problems. So firstly, so sacrifice the citizens' life. So why? Because the dictator itself will never change, but we just do the oppressive regime and just outside power and do not ignore what's happened to in the country, inside the country, right? So therefore, but so still the situation never changed, and the citizens, nobody can criticize to the dictator, and so therefore because of the economic sanction, there is not enough food and product to live in the country, but the dictator have a power to gather other food and get rid of the right to live or right to work or something like that. So therefore, this is so problematic if we do economic sanction, and and also, even if under the status quo, the dictator have a power and control the citizens, and citizens are suffering from the not enough food or something like that, but situation is going to be worse and worse because the dictator have much more power and control more and more. So therefore, we can imagine the dictator like change the law or raise the tax rate or something like that. So therefore, the normal citizen right sacrifice and more, and the situation will be struggle, right? So therefore, this is not the solution. So why secondary? So why this is not best solution? Because the dictator, their incentive and will not be changed. Why? Because just because oppressive regime, this is not the solution. Why? Because there's no attention to the citizens, and just they only think about themselves, right? And so therefore, this oppressive regime itself gonna more hardly to negotiate to the such country, and also the dictator have more incentive to oppose the other outside of countries, and so independently. They want to be isolated, and only the dictator and domination have a power and still live. So economic sanction itself, a dictator can still live. However, citizens cannot live and hardly to live. And so we believe the sanction itself is so problematic. Okay, so let me move on my point. So engagement itself, why is important and better way to incentivize the dictator to change their mind. Okay, so Okay, so we're gonna focus on the incitement of their country and we're gonna praise to the what's happened in the country, and so therefore we do not do the outside power, and so try to make clear the problem and see reality to do through the engagement, right? So therefore. Gradually, at the end of the day, our side is much more easily to tackle that such problem. Why? Because, like for example, we are gonna try to negotiate more and more, and also. Like the trade with conditional help, or and also so therefore we opposition side try to talk directly and face to face to the dictator and try to change more and more. So however, comparatively, the government side just ignore the government and domination of the power and the dictator itself, where we try to focus on such the power and the dictator. And so therefore, this is so important because we do not sacrifice the right, and we try to negotiate and try to incentivize to change more and more. So therefore, we are happy to oppose this motion.
Thank you, leader for the presentation. So now I'd like to call the member of the government to continue your case in 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So what we would like to achieve here is very simple. We would like to promote the choice of those oppressive regimes to change themselves, by themselves, change the system by themselves, not by the military intervention, which we think the engagement. We think engaging, meaning the military intervention, is absolutely immoral, and that's totally different from the economic sanction. It's not justifiable in the first place, and even if it's justifiable in those countries, take the engagement means to tackle down, it doesn't work in the first place. So we think that's why we are proposing this motion. And we found it very inconsistent in their argument, because the previous speaker herself, accepted that, admitted that the negotiation works, right? Well, that's what we actually means, because what we mean by a sanction is the economic sanction, which is to set the condition and leave the choice for those countries, for those oppressive regimes, to choose either to change the oppressive regime, or meaning that they're answering the negotiation, right? And so we think it's very inconsistent because they themselves consider the negotiation works. So moving on to the rebuttals. Oh, before that, I have three things to talk about in my argument. I would like to firstly talk about how economic sanction actually leaves the choice for those oppressive regimes to change themselves. So how it actually works. And secondly, why engaging meaning military intervention is uniquely immoral and doesn't work. I'd like to reinforce that. And thirdly, I'd like to compare which side can actually save lives of the people in long term. So let me go to rebuttals. Firstly, they have talked about how economic sanction uniquely worsen the situation, make the people suffer more. So we think actually the oppressive regime also has the incentive to care about its citizens, because they themselves consider that those governments care about themselves, right? Then those people on the ground actually are the workforce of those countries. So actually the government of oppressive regime still has the incentive to care about those people. And secondly, even if that's the case, we think military intervention kills more people, innocent people, which cannot be justifiable. Yes.
So we did not say we are gonna do the military intervention. So why do you continuously say military intervention itself is so harmful?
Okay. So we think. Because you said you have to help those people, right? Then they will not offer any alternatives to help those people, because the military intervention, they don't military intervention, right? That's so confusing, we think, because they are just, abolishing the alternatives to save people. Then, well, they are failing the solving the problem, concealing the problem itself. So moving on to argument. Sorry, no. So we think. First, I have to explain how sanction, meaning economic sanction, actually leaves the choice for those oppressive regime to change themselves. So what we mean by sanction is that we set the condition on the trade and those things. Set the condition we promote those oppressive regime to change their political systems, such as if those oppressive regimes are in the dictatorship, EU is kind of doing set the condition to change to listen to the voice of the people for that oppressive regime, and we think that incentivize the oppressive regime to change the systems, because without changing their economic their systems, political system, they cannot get the trade, cannot sustain even for their own life of the government, like people. So we think they have then this leaves the choice for the government, which is the important part. We are offering the choice for those oppressive regimes. It's really important, but not just automatically topple down this military by military intervention, but to leave the choice for those oppressive regimes to change. We think it's extremely important because the other countries actually cannot because we think engaging military is actually immoral and so on. So secondly, I like to talk about how I like to compare the paradigm, the most paradigm, then which can save more people. So they themselves consider that there is a thousand of people on the ground suffering, and they are saying, or they do not intervene military as the previous speaker said. So we think in the first place they are failing to solve the problem. They are failing to help those people because they are so we think obviously we can save people in long term by setting the conditions, setting the condition and change the regime itself, and in long term in long term those oppressive regime would take the choice, because they need a trade, they need a trade or the money from the other countries to sustain these oppressive regime. So we think they are gradually they are taking the condition, or they are taking the sanction, and but through that process, we think oppressive regimes change its system, and the people on the ground would be most of those people would be hurt. They don't learn. So that's the reason why we are trying to propose this motion.
Okay, thank you, members of the government. So now I'd like to call for the member of the opposition, and because that please use electoral dictionary. It's very good. So anyway, yeah.
The crucial failure of government side is that government side continuously believes that opposition side do the military intervention. But that in first place, it is not true. Secondly, they didn't explain why economic sanctions is uniquely better way to change the situation of the developing such a dictatorship or such a oppressive regime. the assumption coming from the only assumption coming from the opposition government side is that if government will other country will not will do the economic sanction, people will not have the, such a commodity, other country will not support. This is the only assumption. We think that it is not true, and rather it will create the harm, as our side explained. So we think that such a negotiation or such an engagement is a rather better way to change the situation, feedback to the government. Firstly, I want to rebuttal to entire government side, and secondly, I want to talk about why engagement is uniquely better or comparatively better Aristotle logic. And thirdly, I want to compare there are two ways to change the situation, but which paradigm can save the people who live in the oppressive regime. So, firstly, I want to rebuttal to their side. They said that duty of the government, duty of the other countries. But why is there so explicit? But it is the assumption of the government side. It is not so explained, and why we don't see why it is so important in the to support this motion. And they said that there is a need for financial support or financial trade is needed to will be cut and it will create damage. But it is only assumption. Why it will damage to the citizens in the such oppressive regimes? Rather, we explain it will create a very big harm because dictatorship of the or the top of the government has a very authority in that oppressive regimes, and they can control the tax or they can control the life or they can control the legislation in that country. That's why we think that it is bad, and only top government can get the money or the military in that government can get the money or food, and citizens will continue to be oppressed by the government. And they said that, moreover, they said that the choice is necessary for the oppressive regimes. In the first place, why that choice is so necessary in their paradigm? To oppress the citizens or not to oppress the citizens? In the first place, it doesn't mean. Rather, we think that and moreover, they said that people in their countries which oppress the oppressive regimes have the incentive to take care of their citizens. Okay, if it is true, why that government is an oppressive regime? I don't know. And secondly, they don't have the incentive to take care of the citizens because the top government has a very big authority and a lot of access of the commodity in the society, and controlled by the government, citizens will buy the out of commodity. But that price is so high in the first place because the economic sanction will damage to the economy of that country, and government will want to get a lot of money. Dictatorship will occur. We think that this is the process, so taking care of the citizens will not occur. Okay. And even though there is an incentive for the government to take care of their citizens, it is not, we can't support such economic sanction because they didn't say why economic sanction is better. Okay. And we know that at status quo there are a lot of countries which do the sanction, economic sanction to the, for example, North Korea. But North Korea doesn't change that situation. North Korea's dictatorship will exploit a lot of money from the citizens, and citizens have very poverty, and their life is very so minimized at status quo. Why can you say in their paradigm we can save the people in the developed such as North Korea and so on? We think that giving the choice for the government, then so government will consider about whether they will continue oppressed or not. Then as a result, the dictatorship will continue to oppress the citizens. This is the status quo. Okay, next I will explain why negotiation is such engagement is a good way. We know that as our first speaker said, the negotiation or the negotiation and so on is very good. Why? Because if the top of the other country will negotiate with that person, dictatorship, this will be solved. Why? Because the reason why dictatorship cannot be solved is that the top of the government will know that if they will stop such a dictatorship, and if it is democratized, of course that top of the government will be punished harshly in the case of after doing the democratization. That's why a lot of the top of the government will not likely to step to such a globalization because they will be punished after open their trade their countries. We think that, but if other country, America and so on, will negotiate to that dictatorship, but so if government can propose that, so if you open your countries, we will try to make you guilty very low, or so some kind of the compromisation will occur. We think that it is a very better for the government, other countries to negotiate. It is not that it will not never happen in their paradigm. Okay, then and if in the so next I want to do the comparison. In which paradigm can save that more people in such a flexibility? Of course, this is a clearly opposition side. They never explain the process how we can solve by the economic sanction. It is occurred upstairs. And rather, we said that the situation will be more worse and worse because normal citizens who doesn't have the guilty will be oppressed and their life will be minimized. The people will harshly criticized by the government. We think that the situation will become worse, but in our paradigm we can take the other way to solve that problem, and they said they never explain why economic sanction is better. We beg to propose.
Okay, then the resolution for now for the reprise within 7 minutes. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we are happy to debating in seminar in our case so set, and fortunately we won this debate